Good morning.
Good morning.
That was excellent. So before I begin, I have to make a confession to you guys. I am one of those that will approach you at an airport. Every time I see military, I come up to you and I go, thank you so much for your service. And then I cry, and I don't know why I cry. I have my master's in clinical psych, and I always try to think, like, why do you sob every time you say thank you? But here's what I think it is. You guys are the most amazing advocates. I think as a kid, my childhood, what I went through, I needed an advocate. I see you, and I'm like, oh, there's my advocate. So before I begin, just please give yourselves a huge round of applause. What an honor to be here. So I'm going to speak to you a little bit about my upside down model of leadership. And to help you understand who I am, he said a little bit about my bio, but I'm a national leader of our program. I'm a global trainer of best practices. I run Sail of Freedom, and we have a Sail Away Foundation. And I've taken it from startup in the last few years to 5 million today. Our budget this year, the goal is 15 million, and by 2020, $55 million. So I have a little bit of something that's working in this upside downness that I hope that you can glean. And in that, there's a few principles that I want to share, but having an underlying understanding of who we serve helps you understand why I have this insight. The girls that we are helping have been abused, sexually abused, for most of their lives. And when the point gets too great that they can't keep that secret anymore, something in them breaks and something shifts, and they typically run, and they run away because they think they're running to freedom. They're thinking they're getting away from this. And as they run, without knowing what you're running from or the proper way to run from something, we often run into something so much worse because we're sort of aimless in our run. So that's part of the foundation of what I'm going to speak to, because our girls go from that to a predator that ends up trafficking them 15 to 40 times a day for 7 years. So way worse of a situation. So some of the principles that I'm going to speak to, I hope will help you understand if there's anything you're still running from, anything you might be trying to forget, not remember. Because what I can guarantee you is if we do not face it and deal with it the healthy way, the proactive way, and some of my tips will help you in a proactive way, it's going to manifest when you don't want it to. I am sure. I can guarantee you it's happened to me. And look at the news and the media today. Everything's coming out. Secrets come out. That's what happens. So in my upside down leadership model, there's just a few principles I'm going to share with you today. And they're counterintuitive. They're countercultural. People come onto our staff and they're like, okay, they say this is how they operate. Let's see if it's real. Because I came from corporate America. It's very different how we do it because I didn't like working in corporate America. It didn't work for me. So the first one, I like to call it your personal board of directors. I cannot recommend any more highly that each of you, if you do not already have your personal board of directors, that you pay attention and start thinking about who in your life you can invite into this place. And I am not talking about, I have my board of directors all day long and that's my business, but this is personal. These are people that I have chosen because I greatly respect them. And I give them carte blanche. Speak into my life. I come to them with things when they're brewing in me, not just professional, because I know that if I go off personally, there's a huge cost professionally. So everything gets, authenticity, accountability, transparency, all of that has to be happening somewhere in your life to be and stay a strong leader. And so how we set up our organization is we have 3 of us that are the founders. And in the 3 co-founders, I'm the CEO, I'm the president, I'm sort of the face, the voice, I could go off, and do something like rogue. But the beauty is that there's such a high level of respect between this trio, and we value the cord of 3 in decision making. So even if I'm all keyed up about something, I'm like, oh, this is going to happen. And they say to me, you know what? Let's pause. One of them says, I'm getting a check, or this doesn't feel right. I'll pause. And I will reflect and say, And that's rare. What we see today very often is people getting in leadership, and most of us are drawn to leadership because we're type A, we're strong, we're driven, we're dynamic, we can do it. And people follow us. I mean, there's a charismatic thing that comes to an effective leader. They're almost born with it. And the beauty of this is its humility. So it's saying, hey, I know I have some skills here, but I want a covering. I want accountability. And I thought maybe this was just unique and we were just doing it and it's working well. And a couple of years ago, we had this billionaire approach us who started his own tech firm out of his garage and grew it with a co-founder. And they were named one of the only two-headed CEOs written up in Forbes magazine about how weird is this, how rare to have a two-headed leadership. And he found such success. They each sold their business and they got $4 billion each. And he's been mentoring us for the last couple of years. And in that, what you find is the ability to share ideas and not go too far one way or another. And I have a philosophy in it that I call, highly recommend this one, it's very uncomfortable, but it's called fillet of fish. Like I will come before my personal board of directors and say, open me up, take a peek. What do you see? Am I off? Are my motives right? Am I still doing the right thing? And it gives them the ability to just, the thing is too, you have to choose people that have the confidence to speak into you. I'm strong. People will sometimes say I'm intimidating. You need to choose people that aren't afraid. I had an invitation to the governor's mansion for dinner, and I was so excited. And this is a tip here too, because if you're so excited about something that you think, oh, I'm just going to make this decision, I don't even need to tell anybody because I got this covered. There was something in me that I'm like, I know who I'm going to bring. I had a +1. I'm doing it. It's going to be fun. I'm going to show off. This is my night. And I didn't really want to tell my personal board of directors in a weird way. And when I did, they said, you know what? I think it's a little bit more strategic than that. I'm not sure this is the person you're supposed to bring. And have you ever had somebody push back on you when all you want to do is do what you want to do? But to let somebody have that voice. And you know what? It turned out if I would have brought who I wanted, the minute you walked to the door, you go this way, your guest goes that way, you don't see him all night, the first person would have been so upset. So just having that freedom to let someone speak into you. And then the second area that I highly value, we call it, it's basically like a non-compete clause, but it's within our core values, it's within our culture. In the world, you are teamed up against each other. You guys in the military, you have your adversaries. But within your team, if any bit of competition leaks in there, it is so dangerous, it is divisive. The model and the premise that we have in America, when I was in corporate America, it was so much like, oh my gosh, I can't let this guy get ahead. He might steal my place for promotion. I'm working for this, and I need to guard what I see as my pathway at all cost to whoever. And it doesn't really work that way. What I have found to be true, and again, upside down model of leadership, that's a lie. In reality, who you are, each one of you, you're in this room because you are unique and you are gifted and you were chosen to be on this path. What an honor to be in this room. You have such a uniqueness to you that competition from somebody that's like gifted or similarly gifted is never going to steal what is meant for you if you walk in that knowing and you walk in that confidence. Many of us have been groomed to believe, uh-oh, this isn't true. Something's going to happen. It's going to go awry. Something could be taken from me. So I need to make sure I don't let this person have all the opportunities. You might not let them know about something they could step into to learn or to grow. And it's false. It's not true. When I worked in NBC, I'm from Chicago, worked at NBC Chicago. I was in my 20s then. And I always had this in me, and I don't know why. It's just part of who I am. And we had a new woman start. And I remember watching her, and she would struggle, and you'd see the guys would do their thing, they did their early coffee, and so it was just, everybody had their ways of positioning themselves. And I was watching her struggle, and I remember offering help and giving her tools and tips and this, and she's like, why are you helping me? And this was a smart, attractive woman, right? And she's like, aren't you afraid I'm gonna steal your position? Aren't you afraid I'm gonna come after what you're doing? And I'm like, no, you can't take anything from me. And what I tell my staff is, you know what? Let me tell you this. What I have at Sail of Freedom, I say I have the best looking staff in America. My staff is a bunch of 20-something beautiful young ladies, early 30s. They are all in their passion. They're on fire. They're gorgeous. They're resilient. And you know what? If I was a lesser in my confidence and my knowing of this upside down value, I could feel threatened. Like, oh my gosh, these girls might rise up and the board of directors would be like, you need to move over. But it's not true, because what I tell them is, you at your best all day long. If you look at your wing I don't know what you guys call each other, but what are you? You're wing guy, Top Gun. If you are talking to Goose and you say, hey, I see something in you. Do you see this? And you have the ability to call out and call people higher to places that they can't even see. So many people were raised in environments where they're not encouraged to dream or to let their thoughts go bigger than maybe this is what we do and this is what we plateau at. And you have the gift to call them higher. I have so many staff members that they're like, man, I can't believe I'm doing this. You saw things in me, and it's like you just went into my brain and my heart, and you pulled me to places I never thought I'd go. I'm honored. And that's the privilege we have as leaders if we get it right. I always say, you know what? If I do everything I can to make you look good, and I do everything I can to make you look good, you at your best, it only makes me look better. There's nothing bad that's going to happen. What's going to happen is we're going to present as this amazing, impenetrable force, and we look like we are top notch. And that's what, as a leader, I would ask you to consider. It's a little upside down, but it will serve you. And the third area of my upside downness is Selah. Selah is our name. It means to rest, to pause, to reflect. And that's not a typical reaction in leadership either. I know for myself, I am like super pushy. I'm super impatient. I am always driven. And when I have something I want to do it. But I've learned it more so because of my co-leadership that I have, because my other two founders are so different, so vastly different than I am, and their perspectives are different. And they have taught me, because their growth was needing to step faster, speak up. So they're growing this way, I'm growing this way in practicing the pause. Because if you ever gone to make a decision and there was just something in you where you just didn't feel the peace, and I believe that that's because as a leader, we all have discernment. And discernment's a gift. And if you don't feel like you have the ability to discern, which is like a knowing, like you have within you a still small voice, and if you're doing something that's right or it's wrong, or you're watching that person and they are good or they're bad, like you can just tell. That's discernment. But it's a muscle, and you have to grow it. You have to pay attention to it. Listen. Because it's in you, and it's so valuable. And people will watch you, and they'll respect you, because they'll say, you know what? She could have just flown off the handle there, or she could have just launched this at me. But she paused, and if you talk about that as a value, people start to see it, and you model it. And I can tell you, you will blow it, because I do all the time. And another thing we instill from the top down is ownership. Just name it. Hey, I screwed up. Man, that was inappropriate. As a CEO, when I speak that way, my staff loves it. They're like, she's so real. I'm like, I'm pretty flawed, So to just get comfortable being open and honest. And so in these values, these upside down models, I just pray there's something in there that might speak to you. And if you could take a nugget, because ownership, accountability, non-compete, that mentality, authenticity, and that deep, deep level of transparency, we're not operating like that today. You're not seeing a lot of leaders operating with that openness. And if you do, you're going to project something different. There's going to be something about you that people are going to look at you, and they're not even going to know what it is, but they're going to be drawn. Like, people are always like, I don't know what it is, but I'm just drawn. You'll become more alluring, I like to say. It'll make you alluring. And in that, you stand in confidence. And you're already some of the greatest leaders out there to be in this room. So it'd be my honor if a nugget, something helped elevate your already greatness. And honestly, it has been my greatest honor to be here today. Thank you.